What's up? It's the 4th and Goal broadcast tonight. We got Ken Dobbe with us. How you doing tonight, Ken?
Doing good, brother. How you been doing?
I've been doing good, man. Just going up, just getting excited for the off season. We got free agency coming up. I'm really curious on what's going to happen with all the news we heard today.
Yeah, there was a lot of it today.
A lot of it. I mean, sometimes I was trying to figure out how I could even work today because every time I looked at my phone, it was like 5 new things I had to share to the page. I'm like, damn, everything's coming out today, right in the middle.
There's a couple Bears groups I'm in where we have some chats, and I was like every 5 seconds, oh my God, did you see this? Oh, hey, this guy's tagged. Oh, hey, that guy's tagged. Oh, well, I guess we can't get him now. I mean, a lot of stuff in the last 48 hours.
Oh, it's been crazy. I mean, I feel you with that because I was checking out the Lions groups today, and they're half of our stupid fan base is talking about we need Lamar Jackson. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Here we go. We went all year with talking about getting a quarterback. And then the year finishes how we are, and it's like, are you guys still serious? Like the writing is on the wall. We just had our offense top 10 all year. We had a better offense than Green Bay all season.
Well, I mean, Lamar would be an upgrade for you, though. I mean, and they could do it. So here's the interesting thing about Detroit. If Detroit wants Lamar, Baltimore can't stop him.
No, but they can because they can match. They have the option to match.
They can't match it. They don't have the cap space to match. Technically, they have the right to match, but if they don't have the cap space, then they can't match it. Detroit could make an offer that Baltimore could not physically match, and it would be an upgrade for your team. Look, I'd hate to see Lamar in the North. So, I mean, it would be an upgrade for you guys.
Actually, I disagree.
Well, I mean, it would give you a whole new dynamic that you don't have with Goff. And I like Goff.
See, here's the thing. It would actually set Detroit back.
Well, I mean, because of giving up 2 first-rounders, yes. But, I mean, he's a different dimension. He adds a dimension that Goff doesn't. And that's the ability for him to run and create and extend differently than Goff. I like Goff. I think Goff should have been comeback player of the year. But he would add an extra dimension or two. But yeah, you're giving up 2 first-round draft picks to get him.
Well, here's my true belief. This is how I look at it. I don't look at it upgrade at all because I'm going to be realistic when it comes to Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is basically overpaid running back. That's basically what it is. And the only why I say that is because he can throw the ball, but he's not the most accurate passer by any means. And he fails to work on his passing game. He wants to run the ball. And I'm sorry, I don't want to pay $230 million guaranteed to a quarterback that's going to be hurt by time playoffs get here. We watched Michael Vick do it. You know what I'm saying? So to me, it's like, I want the smart QB. I don't want the dummy. And I don't want nothing to do with it.
I mean, I agree with you. It's like, look, the Lions don't have to do it. But you know what? I mean, as a Lions fan, it's got to be nice to know that if you wanted to, if you guys really wanted to, you could. You know, I mean, you haven't been in that position in a long time in Detroit. But if you guys want Lamar, he's yours for the picking right now. But I don't think you need him. I think he'd be an upgrade over Jared Goff, yeah. But then what are you going to do with Jared Goff? And then what does that say about the trade that brought Goff? And then you're also giving up the capital you got in the Stafford trade, so to speak, to get him. So win this, I don't think you guys need him. But I don't know if they want to get froggy and make a big splash, they can.
Oh, for sure. I mean, the option. I'm not going to deny that the option is not there. We have the cap. We do have the room to give him a long-term deal and make it work where we can afford it. But at this point, to me, this is how I truly look at it. When your team is in top 10 all season, we didn't fall below top 10 in offense all season with Goff. So there is no need at quarterback. Now, if we were, in the 30s, I wouldn't be too mad. And I mean, if you want to make a splash, if Detroit wants to make a splash like that, then why don't we trade for Henry? Because Henry's on the trading block, according to reports. You know what I mean? That would make more sense than drafting Lamar. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Honestly, my prediction on Lamar is I don't think he gets his money. I think he's going to be stuck in Cleveland or Baltimore, playing on the franchise tag this year, and watching Daniel Jones make more money than him.
Actually, I have one other option on Lamar that I want to happen, and that's that New York realizes, hey, I don't have to basically give up 2 or 3 picks for a quarterback that I might get 3 to 5 years out max, and in this whole deal with the Packers, I can just trade for Lamar, sign Lamar, give up 2 first rounders. So it's going to cost me less than Aaron Rodgers is as far as draft capital. And, they could say, hey, Lamar, how about 5 years, 250 with 240 of a guaranteed? Hey, what's up, Baltimore? And they could do the same thing. They could sign him away from Baltimore where Baltimore can't or won't want to match. And as a Bears fan, I would prefer that, because then that means Rodgers is stuck in Green Bay with Jordan Love, and Green Bay will have no outs. They'll be out of outs. They're going to be stuck with them then.
I think Rodgers will just retire if he really wants out. He's not gonna sit there.
Well, and that's fine though. That's great for me. That's even better, because now they're still on the hook for all his money in Green Bay. So they have until Friday to do something, or they're on the hook. So I would rather. I think if I'm the Jets, and wouldn't that be a New York kind of move to swoop in and steal Lamar from Baltimore? That's so New Yorky. I think if I'm the Jets, I would rather go after Lamar real quick, make my run at Lamar, say, I'll give you 5 years, 250, 240 of it guaranteed. What do you think? We have to sign tomorrow. And if he says, yeah, then you put Baltimore on blast. And if Baltimore won't do it, boom, they've got a quarterback for the next decade in New York.
Here's my thing why I think that won't happen. And that's because the Jets have made it very clear that they're not moving on from Wilson. Wilson is their franchise QB. And this is why they want Rodgers a lot, is because I don't know if you've seen it, but I read a whole article on how since Wilson's came in the league, his idol has been Rodgers, and they actually communicate all the time and talk on a regular basis. So that's what the Jets are seeing right now. Let's bring Wilson's idol / friend in the league that he talks to for advice all the time. Let's bring him here and let him finish his career here. And
yeah, but you know what though? If I sign Lamar, there's so many quarterback hungry teams I can trade Zach Wilson to and get a decent return to help mitigate the cost of Lamar Jackson. Because if I sign for Lamar, Zach Wilson is no longer the future. It's all about Lamar for the next decade. So at that point, you take Zach Wilson and you ship him off to Carolina or Atlanta or Houston or some other place that needs a project future quarterback. They can totally move off from him and get good trade value for him.
Yeah, but the Jets. And another thing too is with the Jets, sucking so long, the owner's impatient over there. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, Lamar makes them. I think Lamar improves them to a playoff winning team day one.
I don't see. This is where I disagree with all that, because I'm still like looking at what Lamar's done in the league. He's won 2 MVPs now. He's made some noise as a superstar in the league. But I'm telling you, this is all Michael Vick, young Michael Vick.
Yeah, but he's gonna have a better pass protect offensive line in New York than he's had in Baltimore. Michael Vick was a hell of a passer, especially at the end of his career. He's gonna have better receivers in New York than he did in Baltimore. When they let Hollywood Brown go, that hurt. When he had Hollywood Brown, he was throwing all over the place. But then when they traded away Hollywood Brown, the passing game suffered in Baltimore. So if he goes to New York, he's got better receiving core, better offensive line for pass protection. I think a lot of that concern you have kind of goes away. I mean, he definitely makes him a Super Bowl contending team the second he walks in the door.
Player wise and what he's done in the league wise, I agree to a certain extent, but that's this paper. I'm going off actions and what he's produced. And the times I've seen him make the playoffs, he's choked. Other years, he hasn't even been healthy
so is
for
Rodgers.
the playoffs. Oh, for sure. Rodgers is the biggest choke artist of them all.
Yeah.
When it comes to playoffs.
Yeah.
But in reality, that's also, like, I hate to say this too, it's not all Rodgers on being a choke artist. That's
let him play
as well.
Let the Jets get to the Super Bowl and face.
Green Bay thinks, they've done it so much. Yeah, I mean, other than that 1 year, that was the best team Rodgers has really had. They had one more good year that he did choke. I think.
I mean,
a couple of good teams that he choked, but
let Rodgers go to New York and face San Francisco in the Super Bowl, and it's a guaranteed loss for the Jets. He can't beat San Fran.
If that defense is as good as it was last year for the Jets, though, that could be a whole different outcome. Because a lot of people forget that the Jets had the number one defense in the league, even better than San Francisco. The only why they didn't make the playoffs last year is because the QB play got all messed up at the end of the season with Zach White getting hurt, Wilson benched, and then I forget the other quarterback that stepped in.
Purdy.
For him. So on the Jets side, not the 49ers. They had somebody else fill in for Zach White over Wilson.
Yeah, White was good
Flacco,
too.
That's it.
Flacco.
Yeah, they had Flacco start a game and it cost them. But you know what I mean? Like you put Rodgers there with that offense, and if that defense is good, just as good, if not better from last year, I'm sorry. Like I told David Sunday night when we were on, if that's what plays out, their defense is just as good, if not better. The AFC would be a fucking show, because you would have all those powerhouses battling.
Oh, the AFC East. Yeah, I mean with that AFC East, then with the Jets, with Rodgers, the Pats with Jones, you have Tua down in Miami and Buffalo. That division right there between them and the AFC West. Jesus Christ, those are two divisions you don't want to be in.
Exactly. And I don't know if you heard the rumors. I mean, there's been a couple reports that I shared today that there's been rumor that Tom Brady might be coming back.
No, I hear he just spelled that. Brady came out and said, no way, it's not happening.
Yeah, but did you catch what he said? The reason why?
I didn't catch that piece.
He said the reason why is the people act like I think I have time to make a comeback. Must have not adopted a 2-month-old kitten for their daughter. So that tells me he's just bullshitting. He just don't want the rumors out. Because if he is serious about not coming back and wanting to end the rumors, he would have used a better excuse than a damn kitten. We know that's not the damn reason why you're not going to come back and play.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of curious. Really am. I'm not going to buy into it. I'm not going to take it it's going to happen officially. But I'm going to watch it, because to me, that kitten excuse, that's just bullshit. When you get that Miami, kind of money,
I think Miami's about to give Tua more money, so it'd be kind of hard if Tua's your guy in your future.
I don't think Tua gives them. I don't think they give Tua any money this year. And
They're
only
gonna
why I
extend-
say that is because I read a report the other day, that the front office they're worried about Tua's health. They're
Yeah, I mean,
worried about his head.
if he's healthy this season, he'll get an extension. If he's
Oh,
healthy,
for
he'll get an
sure.
extension.
I mean, if he makes it to the season completely healthy, they make the playoffs and they do something, for sure Tua's going to be their guy. He's going to get a contract like he should.
Yeah.
But that's why I believe I think if Miami can get Brady to come back, I think they will pull that trigger in a heartbeat, because they know where they're at with Cap. They know who they got on their team, and they know it's not realistic to keep this team all together like this in a couple of years. So their window of winning the big one is just getting smaller. And then when you got Tua's health on the question, it's really throwing a wrench into things. And we
That's
all
true.
know how Miami's dramatic. They're always known for, you think they're doing this and then they go this way, you know. But like I said, I'm not buying into it until I see a little bit more pieces moving that direction.
Yep.
I mean, obviously Miami wanted them at one point if they got in trouble with tampering with the damn league over them. So
That's
I mean,
true.
it don't sound unrealistic at all. I'm kind of shocked because I thought he would be more wanted to go to Vegas, since he almost went to Vegas before he went to Tampa. So I kind of felt like Josh McDaniels there be a perfect setup for him. You know,
McDaniels, the killer of quarterbacks.
So our first question for you tonight is, how do you truly feel about the Bears going into this offseason?
There's a lot of optimism. I mean, we've got 96 million. I think it's 96 million available right now. We can sign. When you look at the Bears, let me start out like this. When you look at the Bears, the problems the Bears had last year were in two locations, both lines. They didn't play well in the trenches. They need offensive line, and they need edge. They need edge rusher, interior line on the D. Well, we've got all this money to spend in free agency. I see the Bears picking up 2 or 3 O-line, like both the guys who just got released from KC. It's Brown and Smith, bring them both. And then I could see us signing a guard or an edge rusher on D, maybe a linebacker. And really, that's all you need to do between that and the draft. And all the capital we may get if we trade that pick. We're probably going to come up with a bunch of picks, not dissimilar to what you guys went through, last year or this year, next year, right? All those picks you got in the Stafford trade, not dissimilar. We probably end up with 2 first-round picks next year and the year after, and still get a game wrecker in the first round of this year, plus some extra picks. So when you look at this league and the parity of the league, they're not that. I think the Bears realistically could be a low-end playoff contender. A 9-win team this year, contending to make the playoffs at the end of the season.
Okay, so you actually have true trust in your new GM to make those.
Well, considering he drafted,
spend that money wisely.
Well, considering he drafted the best offensive lineman in the draft last year by PFF, and he drafted Brisker, was nothing short of phenomenal. Gordon played great. The Bears, without a first-round draft pick, were ranked in the top 5 drafts last year. So I have a little faith in what I've seen already, but you're not going to hit on everything, but the Bears have so much to play with. Even if they miss on 2 or 3 things, they're still going to hit on 4 or 5 others probably. So from what we've seen in polls in 1 year, yeah, I mean, his track record's good right now. So there's no reason to doubt it.
So now this is what I wanted to bring up. As I read an article, and your GM said he is scouting every quarterback coming in the draft. And he left on the table that there is a possibility if they see something they really truly like, that they might shake up the draft. Do you trust that the Bears are not just going to draft another quarterback? Because I truly think that there is real concern with Justin Fields. Now I'm not trying to talk shit on Justin Fields. He's played better, but he's like passing game. I mean, I don't blame that on him. I think your team sucks at wide receiver. I think you guys need a big wide receiver overhaul if you guys want to compete at all next year.
Well, okay. I don't think we need a big wide receiver overhaul. I think the problem is, and we got Claypool last year, mid-season, doesn't know the playbook, has no rapport with Fields. Then Mooney's injured, so we never got to see Mooney and Claypool together. Now, look, neither of them is a true number one. They're both high-end number twos, I would take it. So, yeah, I could see us maybe in the draft going for a more prototypical number one type of receiver. As far as him not throwing, there were issues, but I saw him throw some balls last year where it was like jaw drop. Like, I can't believe he just did that. I don't think there's any reason why we would move on from Justin Fields. There's just no reason. I mean, any other team, like other team in the league would be like tripping over their feet to get him. So I don't see why the rumor's going to start because people just want to start the rumor. I get it, clickbait. But I mean, in all honesty, Ryan Poles says what he had to say. Well, yeah, of course we look at quarterbacks. He wants to tamper down the we're selling thing, create a little more buzz for that pick. Well, why should I, because if we say we're getting rid of it the second we get it, we have no leverage. So he said a little bit at the, smoke screen, create a little leverage. But I don't think we'd move on from Fields. I mean, you would like one of these guys who have to be so good. It'd be like the second coming of Brady, Roethlisberger, Montana, and Young all rolled into one quarterback. And we didn't see that.
Well, see, it's like here's my thing. Like, I don't think I don't think Justin Fields is a bad quarterback by any means, but I do feel like Justin Fields has issues with throwing the ball.
No, when he was at Ohio State, he didn't have issues throwing the ball. Even last year, when he threw the ball, he throws. I mean, every quarterback's gonna have one or two throws that like, okay, is bad. Every quarterback does that. But I mean, the problem last year, he never was able to get into a rhythm with any one receiver. Like as soon as him and Mooney would start connecting, Mooney gets hurt. Okay, then they bring Claypool in, and he's cold. He doesn't know the playbook. There's no, then like, oh, we're going to try him. Well, nope, then he gets hurt. I think our biggest problem last year was twofold. One, the offensive line, which was great on run protect, on rushing, for rushing the ball, wasn't the best on pass protection. And there were a couple times last year where Fields could have pulled the trigger, but he didn't. That's his one flaw from last year. There were a couple times like, dude, just throw the ball. But for whatever reason, I think because he's not comfortable with the receivers yet, he didn't have a rapport with them. He didn't let the ball loose. He was too risk adverse. I think if he loses that and we protect him a little bit better and we can keep the group, like actually get Mooney and Claypool on the field at the same time, right?
Yeah.
Then I think it's a lot better. I mean, that's the problem last year. If you look at that offense, yeah, they could run the ball well as a team, not just Fields, as a team. They could run the ball well, but when it came to the passing game, they couldn't get consistency. They couldn't get in a rhythm. They couldn't pass protect, and Fields got a little gun shy. And I think that's the one area that he needs to. He wasn't gun shy his rookie year, but he was gun shy last year for whatever reason.
I think it's because, he's trying to play smart football. And I just truly feel like he has no trust in your wide receiver core. I mean, the two games I watched him closely, running and deep when we played you guys, both games. it seemed like he was too, and this what brings me back to Lamar Jackson, is once they start getting them hype on them runs and they start beating people, to me, they don't trust their instincts or their arm. They just want to trust
Well, I
their
mean,
feet
but when Lamar had
too
Hollywood Brown,
much.
though, when Lamar had Hollywood Brown, he was throwing the ball over the place. The second they traded Hollywood Brown, the
Yeah,
passing game in Baltimore dropped. So you look at Fields last year, the only receiver he knew coming into the season was Darnell Mooney. And then Mooney gets hurt. So he didn't have a relationship with these other receivers like that yet. And that takes time. That's why I think too Goff was better last year because he had relationships. He had understanding with his receiving core. I think with like Fields, Claypool, and Mooney are all working out together now. Like they're already showing videos online of these guys working together in the offseason. So that right there, they're going to have a lot more bond. They're going to have a lot more understanding, a lot more faith in each other. I think really that receiving core and Justin Fields will have a lot more faith in each other, and Fields will let the ball fly more this year than he did last year in those situations. Like last year, he would pull it back down versus throw, but this year he'll actually let it loose. Like last year was the first year he was throwing the Cole Kmet, and you could see that relationship grow towards
oh
the end
yeah,
of the
because I mean,
season.
towards the end of the season, Cole Kmet, I was like, because honestly, I've always heard you beer fans talk about Kmet, and I've sat here for the last couple of years, like, what are you guys talking about? The dude's a
Well, he's
nobody.
been
And then
blocking.
towards last year, he was like, I'm like, okay, there might be something here with this guy because he made some big plays towards the end of the season, and I'm not going to deny
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and he was doing a lot of
It's
blocking. His first 2 years, he was doing a lot of blocking because the old line was bad. And then they, under last year, Matt Nagy, they just didn't throw the ball to the tight end much at all. And then the year before, I mean, it was just, well, the last 2 years of Nagy. So Kmet's rookie year, they weren't really throwing the ball much. His last year, they threw a little bit, but you still needed to block. And even this year, he was blocking most of the first half of the season. But then him and Fields started to get this rapport, and you were seeing it translate at the end of the season. So if he can get that, if Mooney stays healthy and he can get that rapport with Claypool, I think that receiving core is fine. Yeah, I'd still like a number one receiver, a big body number one. But you know what? I mean, if we bring Keneal Harry back, dude's got the body and the frame. And St. Brown has the body and frame too. And he missed a lot of time last year. So I think the pieces are there. I think they're better this year. But I don't think we move on from Justin Fields at all. I mean, I don't think that was ever even on the table realistically for the Bears to move on from him.
I've just heard a couple reports, a couple people wrote articles about it, and a lot of it's clickbait. I mean, none of it's set in stone the truth. But I was just curious because one thing I didn't like, and why I bring it up was with your GM saying about that, but the quarterback is, I feel like with the young quarterback, I felt like that was a dumb thing for him to say. And the only why I say that is because this kid, because people are talking, because I know you've came across a couple articles probably talking about it, possibly moving on from Fields, and you know what I mean? And to me, it's like you got a young kid there. And I'm not saying move on for the Bears. I think it's a little too early. I think you at least got to give the kid 2 more years to see what he can do. But I was just like, man, this kid is sitting at home reading the same article we're reading. Like they got to mess with his head a little bit.
Well, no, because he even said that Poles sat down and talked and said, look, you're going to hear these rumors. I mean, he sat down, he told Fields, here's what you're going to hear, but don't worry about it because you're going nowhere. So he had already prepped the battlefield. He even said, look, I'm going to say some of these things because I have to. And so Fields already knew coming in the offseason that these things were going to be said, but he already knew that there was no way there was any truth to any of it. And honestly, it was never. I mean, tactically, I see why Poles at first said, Well, we'll always evaluate the quarterback position because you have to say that to kind of, not make it so obvious that you just want to get rid of the number one pick. But
I
I
mean, you
mean,
got
he had already told.
yeah. If you're trying to trade the first round pick too, you know, what I mean, if you're trying to
Yeah,
move back in the draft, you got to sell it. So I mean,
yeah,
obviously, I knew that could have been the case, but I was just thinking on the outside of the box, like, people are going to run with that
yeah.
shit.
Dude, could you imagine? Like, can you think of any team in the league that would say no to getting Justin Fields right now? I mean, there aren't many teams
Me
that would say
personally,
no.
me personally, I think a lot of teams would. And
No, I think
only why I say that is because he hasn't had a true breakout year yet. We've seen
no,
glimpses.
but he grew by leaps last
Oh
year.
yeah, I
And
mean
if you look at his numbers compared to Jalen Hurts in year two, they're near identical.
I didn't think that.
No,
I mean,
the numbers they're near identical when you put them side by side. So I mean, the comparison is legit. So it's like he showed the Bears, and I'll tell you what, if you went to Tampa or you went to Indy or you went to Atlanta or you go to a lot of these teams or you go to the Raiders, they would trade for him in a heartbeat if you offered it. In a heartbeat. He's dynamic. He's going to be, I mean, he's going to be a dynamic guy in this league. I mean, the NFC North is going to be a tough division over the next couple of years because we got solid quarterback play out of at least three teams. Green Bay yet to be determined if it is going to be Jordan Love, if how solid he's going to be. But really, Fields is a problem for teams. He's and if they get a better offensive line that can pass protect and they can do more pass and more, they get the passing game going, which then opens up to play action, which then opens up to more designed runs, which then opens up. They're gonna wreak havoc on people.
okay, so let's do this. I'm going to share my screen. I just pulled up, compared the stats. So
In year two,
yeah, hang on. There we go. So let's see, hang on. Can you see it?
let's see if I can zoom in on it. I'm zooming in on it a little bit. Is this year? Yeah, that's for 2002 though. That's not year two for both of them. You're looking at last year's numbers. Last year's numbers are not. They don't. He doesn't have as good numbers as Hurts. But if you look at, you got to look at Hurts 21 numbers and Fields 22 numbers.
Yeah, this is 2022 season right here.
Right, but for both of them, I'm saying last year wasn't his second year.
Justin Fields has been here for. Oh, okay. Now I get.
But hold on, leave those up. Leave those up though, because look. He's got. I mean, look at. I mean, you can see the difference there, right? Like, okay, so
yeah. I mean, technically, he's not bad because let's see here, completions. Well, complete 306.
The percentage is what's more important. They're close there. Yardage isn't bad considering he threw, over 100 less passes. But look at those sacks: 55 sacks to 38.
Ooh. Yeah, that's sacks. That sacks is pretty bad.
And then when you go to rushing, I mean, look what Fields.
You guys got to fix that. Yeah, 1-6. Wow, Jalen Hurts only ran five.
Hurts ran more times.
Justin Fields.
Yeah, he ran more times.
Only five though.
Yeah, but look at the number difference.
That's huge. That is really big because if you go back to the Super Bowl, you would thought Hurts ran a lot more.
And even from a fantasy points, perspective, I mean, I don't know which league scoring they're using there, but that's not a bad difference between them. I mean, so that's what I'm saying. Why would you move on from Justin Fields?
Yeah, look at these numbers. I agree. I would stick it out with Fields, but you guys got to get him some wideouts. I mean,
Well, it's not the it's not. We don't need to get him wide outs. We need to protect him with a
protect
good
him.
offensive line. And I think, yeah, we don't have a prototypical number one on that. I'll agree. But I think Mooney and Claypool, if we draft a number one, body type in the draft with Claypool and Mooney there, I mean, because there's no number one in free agency this year. There isn't. There just isn't one to be had. But I mean,
but do you trust Claypool though?
yeah,
Because I never thought Claypool was that good of a receiver. And I'm being honest, so I'm not even talking shit. I just from Pittsburgh, it never seemed like it was nothing.
Well, no, he killed it with Big Ben. When Big Ben was there, he actually put up some decent really good numbers. And then with their Trubisky and the rookie, his numbers fell off. And then when he came to Chicago, he had, you're coming in towards the end of the season, you don't know the playbook. I mean, it's hard for a receiver to come in at the trade deadline. It's really hard, but I mean, I expect, put this way, I think him and Kmet will both get extensions at the end of the year. I think Claypool will have a good year in Chicago.
So I'm excited because I mean I got you guys finishing third. Depending on what hell happens with Minnesota now. Because I got Green Bay predicted to go to the basement. Depending if Rodgers is there or not there.
And depending on how much.
If Rodgers leaves or retires, I think they're projected in the basement. Just because I think Love's going to need a solid year of real game time season before you're going to see anything truly productive out of him.
Well, plus all the money they're still going to have to be paid on Rodgers contract. They're still paying money one way or the other, so they can't go and sign a bunch of stuff. So they're going to have signing. And I think Bakhtiari, if Rodgers goes, Bakhtiari is gone. So they lose, the O-line is going to take a hit. They don't have enough money to sign Adrian Amos right now. That's going to hurt their defense. I mean, they can always try to free up some money by doing restructures like they just did with Zaire Alexander, but they were doing that just to get under the cap. So Green Bay, if Rodgers leaves, it's going to be, what's funny? All the Green Bay fans are like, oh, Rodgers is the GOAT. He's the best ever. Now they're all saying, get that bum out of here. We want Jordan Love. It's the funniest thing about Green Bay fans right now. They're hating on Rodgers.
Because it's people that you would never expect to be saying this shit, and now they're saying it. And it's been pretty priceless. I've seen a few of them coming out.
People that you and I have known for 5-6 years now, since we've been doing this kind of stuff together, that we always say, oh, Rodgers the GOAT, he owns everyone, and blah blah blah. And they're like, get that bum out of Green Bay. We don't want him here. Like, dude, really? That's what I hate about Green Bay fans. Have zero loyalty.
Is it zero loyalty at this point? I mean, think about it. Let's go back 5 years. Last 5 years, we've heard the same shit from Aaron Rodgers pulling this fucking soap opera at the end of every season. So is it really? Let's be true. We gotta be truthful for him. Is it really loyalty?
But you know what? Green Bay's going to trade him. Green Bay's going to trade him because they have to use Jordan Love.
I mean, you have to at this point. I mean, that's what you would want. I mean, but me personally, I don't think Jordan Love's the savior. I mean, I could be wrong.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
if I'm wrong
if
about
you're
Jordan
a Packers fan,
I'll come out and say it.
If you're a Packers fan, who do you want starting next year, Jordan Love or Aaron Rodgers?
I mean, if I'm a true Packer fan, and it's hard to put me in this place right now, but if I'm a true Packer fan, I hate to say this, part of me would want a fresh start because I would be sick of because at this point I would be sick of the bullshit drama. But at the same time, if you want to go to, I want to see my team in the playoffs, a chance to win it all, then I would want Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the writing's on the wall. Aaron Rodgers ain't going to get you the Super Bowl or to the playoffs either with that team because he's too busy trying to fight with the fucking front office and get everybody who he wants, which makes no sense. I mean, he came like honestly, you come back last year, right? The rumor had it you were coming back, you were going to force him to trade you, all that. So you come back, you get your 2-year extension, you get it where you can pick your trade, you have the control of your destination, how you want for this year. All right. And then he put down on the limit and told them that he wants them for him to come back and play, they had to trade to get Cobb back. Now I understand you're best friends with Cobb, and Cobb was a great receiver in that aspect, but you wasted a fucking draft pick on a washed up receiver, bro. Washed up.
Yeah, they got drunk.
You could have used that pick to get I don't know, fucking try to Mike Evans or something. You know what I mean? Try something that's actually gonna fucking make you win. Not just because you want your best friend to come play with you. And again, like I totally understand that. You know what I mean? I get it. You want to play with your best friend, but it's like the things that Green Bay finally like let him to make him happy happen. He used it on stupid things. And you know what I mean? It's just been basically playing. He's been ranting around that he wants to play with his people. And it's like, dude, man, your people were older than you when you came in the league. Them guys were already starters when you first got in Green Bay.
It's going to be interesting what happens between now and next Friday. That's for sure.
Oh, for sure. I'm not 100% sold he's out of the North because it's Aaron Rodgers, man. Dude, his head's stupid. I mean, I just don't trust him because 1 minute he'll be bashing Green Bay, then the next minute he's on the news and I love it here. You know, this is my home. This is my team, you know. And then, you know what I mean? Just for instance, what did he say in his last post game interview at the end of the season after Detroit beat him? I'm not going to hold the Packers hostage. It's not going to be drama. It's not going to be nothing. And here the fuck we are in Green Bay begging them to make an announcement before the 15th.
I mean, you know, though, compared to last year, it hasn't really been drama. It's been a little bit tampered down a bit. I mean,
well, I think at this point, Green Bay is just so fed up with it, they really don't have nothing to say. Honestly, I think they're just.
But Rodgers hasn't been saying much. Rodgers has been pretty low key about it, though, too. So I mean, this year is a little bit more low key than last year.
Except on Pat McGuffrey show talking shit about everybody reporting things. Yeah, you know what I mean. He's been on that shit. He went off on
but he's on McAfee.
What's his name?
He's on McAfee every week though, so that's nothing new though.
No, I'm just saying he went off on Adam Scheffler because Adam Scheffler reported that he was in the darkness already in his retreat, and then he was really still at home on the show. And it's like, dude, you said last week you were leaving to do the retreat. Like, how the fuck you get mad at people reporting shit when you're MIA?
Well, no, he doesn't
talking. You know,
he doesn't like Schefter to begin with. He does not like Schefter to begin with. So that was by design. He just does not like Schefter.
Oh, for sure. He don't like no media. If you listen to him talk, he gets mad at the media all the time. He brings it up all the time. The media is always reporting stuff and he says they don't have no clue.
He likes to just talk to Pat McAfee.
Honestly, the NFL should just pay him to get the answers out of him.
Well, that's what they do. He does. McAfee's got a massive podcast that everyone watches, and it's almost like it's Aaron Rodgers' private platform. So it works. It works for both of them. It works for Pat McAfee and it works for Rodgers.
Yep. Pat McAfee, he's actually coming to Detroit real soon to do a show because he lost the bet at Woodward Sports. I think he lost I forget what they bet on. I think it was the last game Lions versus Green Bay and Lambeau on Sunday night. I think he made a bet with somebody on Woodward Sports, and he lost. And the deal was, if the Packers lost, I believe that was the bet. If they lost, then he would have to come to Detroit and shoot a show. So he's actually keeping his word, and he's supposed to come back. Now, if that's what happens by Friday and he's gone, I had the Packers in the basement. And then I would and then depending on what happens with Minnesota, Kendricks is gone. That was a big name this morning that dropped, and I was kind of shocked that of all the people they chose him. So it really depends.
His numbers were insane last year too. Like statistically, he had a really good year. Like that's a guy who can end up in Chicago though. Like we got the bank. If we want him, look, if there's not a free agent on the market, that if the Bears want him, they can get whoever they want. They got that kind of stupid money to play with.
Oh, yeah.
The Bears may say, hey, come on over. I mean, why don't we pair you with Morrow and Sanborn and let's do some things? I think that'd be a great linebacking core, wouldn't you? I mean, because Sanborn showed out last year.
It wouldn't be bad by any means, but
no.
I don't think he goes to Chicago though. I think
if they want.
I think Kendricks at this point in his career, I think he wants to go somewhere where he thinks he got the playoffs. Now, with that being said, I wouldn't be totally shocked if he don't come over to on the Detroit side, because I really truly believe that Detroit's going to be the team to beat in the North going into next year.
So, I mean, the Lions are definitely on the uptick for sure. And the thing that's funny about this league, the parity, and we see it every year. One team goes from worst to first. One team goes from first to worst. The parity in this league is so close that with the kind of money the Bears have to spend and draft capital, I'm not saying they're going to win the division next year, but theoretically, it's totally possible. Even with the Detroit Lions team being as good as it is, you could have a situation with a Green Bay team in decline, a Minnesota team that's somewhat on the decline defensively, especially.
Well,
a Bears team that
cap issues.
A Bears team that can literally buy itself an offensive line and pass rush in the offseason and then draft impact players with the draft cap. You could definitely see a Bears Lions battling out for first place in the division because the parity of this league. So when you say like he wouldn't come to Chicago, if he sees Chicago go out and sign 3 offensive linemen and an edge rusher that all impact guys, he may go, well, this team has done what it needs to do to be a playoff team. Yes, I mean, he's not that long in the tooth in the league. He's got 7-8 years left. He knows that the Bears over the next couple years are going to be in the window. Maybe not next year, but maybe the year after. So I wouldn't rule him out from Chicago, but the Bears, I don't know. But then again, I also don't know if Poles would do it because Poles, if you notice, he's going younger. He's trying to build a team that he's going to be able to keep together for 5-6 years.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm not going to rule the Bears out because, like I said, Minnesota had, like you just said, Minnesota defense is starting to go down. Plus, they're so tight at the cap now. They're really big choices right now to try to get better is the draft, unless they can clear out a lot of money. But and again, who are they going to cut? So I still see Minnesota being better than the Bears, and I think Detroit's better I think Detroit's the best team in the division. And the only why I want to say that is because we beat the Bears twice. We beat the Packers twice. We should have beat Minnesota if we didn't go try for that stupid field goal in week 3. If we don't go for that field goal and either go for it or play defense at that point, we probably still win that game.
So if you look at the Bears Lions game at Soldier Field, the difference in that game was literally a penalty flag. So the Bears weren't far off in head-to-head with you guys last year.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was our one. That was in the beginning. Once
no,
we
that was
turned it
towards the end of
around,
the season.
that game
That
was
was
real
toward,
close.
that
You
was towards
sure?
the end
Because
of the.
I thought we played you at Ford Field
No,
in the
I think
season.
I thought we played you at Ford first, but I mean, even the
No,
game in
I'm
Ford
pretty
Field,
sure we played at. I'll look it up, but I'm pretty sure we played you.
even the game in
First
Detroit
in
was
Soldier Field.
even the game in Detroit was pretty close for a good hot minute there.
Oh, for
That's what I'm
sure.
saying. The parity in this league is so slim that when you think
Yeah,
about the
like
Bears
this.
could literally buy an all-pro offensive line this offseason. I mean,
Yeah,
that's how much they can affect change in one offseason. So, I mean, and I'm not saying that the Lions aren't going to be there because I think they are. But I
yeah.
mean,
No, I'm not
this
trying to make it
offseason,
sound like I'm trying to say. It's like I'm not trying to make it sound by any means like
this is an
Detroit was way
abnormal,
better. You know what I mean? Because we
this is an
weren't like that far off.
abnormal, well, this is an abnormal offseason when you think about it. Because you know how often you have a team with $100 million in cap space and the number one pick. It never happens.
Yeah, I
Literally
usually
never happens.
So let's do. We pop.
I mean, if you think about it, you can sign 3 all-pro offensive linemen and spend 35 million, take a $35 million cap hit this year, right?
Yep.
You could, I mean, right then, you've got an offensive line.
Okay. So
Yeah,
here
look
we
at
go.
31-30 for that game.
So this is November 13th. The first game was at Soldier Field. We beat you.
That was
beat
inch
you
cup.
30-31. That was pretty close. And then we went to because right now we were 1-6 right here. The loss to Miami. Then the Packers came in, and that's what started our season turnaround.
So go to the second
We
game.
won 9-15. Then we had you the following week. We beat you guys by 1 point. And then this is when we really got rolling and got playing on all levels. We went into the Giants in New York and whooped them.
See, but scroll down though. Like, look at that Pats game, right? Go down, look at that Pats game.
Yeah.
We absolutely destroyed the Patriots.
Yeah.
You guys got destroyed by this. That's what I'm talking about. Parity.
We just didn't show up that game. I think they outsmarted us.
Go down one more because that should be the next one down. Should be Bears. Okay, keep going.
So this is the beginning of the
second
season.
Bears game. Oh, that's the beginning.
Yeah. So we played you. Like I said, first game was November 13th, and our last game we killed you in Ford Field, 41-10.
Yeah.
January 1st. So that's why
by that time,
I'm not saying the Bears are far off, but
yeah.
But this is when we got our shit figured out within these 2 weeks right here. And then
we were already in a losing streak at that.
By the time we met you back here, that's how much better of a team we became.
Yeah, well, and also our team didn't even. I don't even know how we fielded a team at that point at the end of the season.
Oh, for sure.
But
yeah.
So I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like when you look at the Bears team with if you think about it, like a starting all pro, lineman, $8 million a year. So I could buy 3 top tier linemen in the offseason, spend, let's say, $35 million cap hit, and still have roughly $60 million to spend between an edge rusher, a linebacker, and whatever I pick up in the draft.
Oh yeah, I mean, like the Bears could be there. The only why I'm not 100% on the same Zach level you were is just because I feel like they're gonna have to beat at least Minnesota out. I'm confident Detroit can beat out Minnesota, so I feel like depending on
with that
where
Minnesota
you guys are
defense,
at, you be better.
Yes, I think because defensively will be better next year, and I think we'll be better on both sides of the ball, and Minnesota will be worse on defense for sure. And I think their offense will be decent, but especially if they kick Thielen loose, I think that hurts them more than they think. So I think Like
I heard they were talking about a restructuring contract with Thielen.
I think right now the two teams in the North that are trending up are Chicago and Detroit. The two
Yeah.
teams that are trending down are Green Bay and Minnesota.
Oh, for sure. I agree with that 100%.
So I mean, I can
See,
see, and with parity being what it is in this league, with the off-season opportunity the Bears have, it's an they have to seize this opportunity. But if the Bears do it right, like I said, they're a playoff team and they're going to vie for the division next year if they do it right.
see, here the crazy thing is, like going into next season, I believe like the division truly, and I'm not being a homer. I just shoot with everything on the table. From last year going in this year, I feel like it's Detroit's to lose.
As it stands today,
and then I believe by 2024, depending on what the other two teams do, and with the Bears and Detroit, I feel like the North could finally be competitive again. But that just depends on how good Jordan Love is next year if Rodgers is not there, and that depends on where Minnesota goes. Because if they go really decline and say Lions win the division, go to the playoffs, Bears get a wild card, and them two teams could have even bigger trouble going into 2024. But what I'm hoping is they're pretty decent. I want a competitive North. I want the old North back. So I'm kind of hoping by 2024 to be back.
I do too. And I think like as the way the teams sit right now, as they sit today, the Lions are the team to beat in the North. But I think after we get done with the draft, it's going to look a little different. I'm not saying that doesn't mean the Lions aren't going to be the team to beat, but I think like today, I think the Lions, you could make the case to say the Lions will hands down win the North. I think after we get past the draft, depending on what Rodgers does in Green Bay and what the Bears achieve or don't achieve in free agency and the draft with trades and draft picks, if they do it right, there'll be a conversation going, who's going to win the North, Detroit or Chicago? And that will be a legit conversation at that point. But the Bears need to, I love some of these commentators on like NFL Network. Oh, the Bears have holes everywhere. No, the Bears have holes at O-line, D-line. They fix those two places, everything else gets better. And I think if they address that properly in the free agency and the draft, you can legit say that, there'll be a competition between Detroit and Chicago for the top spot. And the only thing that question I'll have is, depending on what they do, depending on what they go after in the draft, might be at the receiving level, because I think Mooney and Claypool are a great 1-2 punch, but they need either N'Keal Harry to step up or R. St. Brown, who's just as big as his brother, to step up like your St. Brown. If he can play like your St. Brown, then the Bears are going to be great.
I hate to say this, I would keep wishing on that because, it makes me bad because, I think it would be cool. It would be cool as shit to have both St. Brown brothers fighting for the best receiver in the North. You know what I'm saying? Like hands down. I think that would be probably one of the coolest things that could happen in football. I just don't see it happening. And only why I don't see it happening is because I go back to his playing Green Bay. He had Aaron Rodgers and still didn't really become much.
So
and then he goes to Chicago where it's better playing time and still hasn't done much.
He showed flashes in a passing game that was almost non-existent. He made some phenomenal catches, but the Bears were inconsistent with throwing last year. Number one, I think that's why they re-signed him for this year. The potential, he's got the potential. The potential's there, and N'Keal Harry, I think the potential's there too. The dude made a couple catches. You're like, why is this guy not in every down? And so did R. St. Brown. So, and they're big enough. They're both, R. St. Brown's still 6'5", 6'6". He's a big guy. He's got the body weight. He's got the wingspan. That's the thing. The potential's there. So if the potential is there in that case. So I think if the Bears can improve the two key areas being the pass rush and the O line, I think you see a completely different Bears team next year and a team that could give defensive coordinators across the league fits. Because if all of a sudden, Fields has a pocket to pass from and he can still run like he can run, and he's got other tools he can actually use. You can't, like, here's the thing. Last year, you didn't have to double team any Bears receiver. But if you have to start double teaming a Claypool or a Mooney, or have to worry about Kmet coming out the back, or have to worry about Armand St. Brown all of a sudden, and now you have to double team one of them, which then gives Fields even more options. You see, it's all stacks, right? So if one of those things happens, it opens up a ton of doors. So if that happens, he becomes one of the hardest quarterbacks in the league to scheme for.
Yeah. I mean, if he can get that, I'm not going to lie. If Justin Fields can get that passing game going, he could be a deadly, because now you got to watch him pass the ball. You got to stop him from running the ball. He gets that whole time effect. And I still have questions for Fields. I'm not sold on it yet, because to me, last year was second year, right?
Second year.
Okay, so to me, I got to see him this year, see how he plays out this year.
Like, if he can reconnect that fire him and Mooney had his rookie year, and he can and Claypool is now comfortable in the offense, and then they're going to be deadly, because his rookie year, Mooney blew up, and that was all on him Fields. And that's what I'm saying. So if you even look at his rookie year, he threw better his rookie year than he did last year, throwing wise. So
I agree. That's
he gets
what's
back,
making me get those questions. And to me,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
the other thing is, go ahead.
So like, if him and Mooney would say restart that fire, and then Claypool pans out to what Poles wanted Claypool to be, and even though we won't have a true number one, but now you have to double team one or both of them. That team is going to, and of course now they're actually using the tight end. Like, Cole Kmet is a legit threat now. This team is a completely different team than what we just saw in 22.
Yeah,
completely.
If they get the same play as Kmet, they get that going from him. They get Claypool more involved, Moody involved. They'd be good. See, to me is this is why I just have a hard time, and I know it's kind of stupid. It probably makes me sound like a homer or whatever you want to call it. Is only why, to me, is I go back to Ohio State. Like, we all know I'm a Michigan fan. It has nothing to do with the rivalry when I say this. Is I've watched so many quarterbacks going to the NFL from Ohio State, and none of them pan out to be anything. And then I think it's just the system they run. You know what I mean?
I think
it fucks those kids up coming to the league. You know what I mean?
DJ Stroud looked phenomenal.
I mentioned it Sunday. I told David he could be the first Ohio State quarterback to break this.
Well,
from pre-draft.
I think both him and Fields break that norm. They're the best two quarterbacks to ever come out of Ohio State, hands down.
I agree with the best, but the only thing we've truly seen the best at is running the ball so far. Because, if you go back to Ohio State quarterbacks, all of them ran, but when they hit the pros, they didn't.
Right, but even throwing, they're the best. I think Fields and Stroud are probably two of the best passing quarterbacks Ohio State ever had while at Ohio State that then went pro. I don't know. I get the whole Ohio State thing, but we've seen enough from Fields' rookie year. Last year was really bad offensively in total, except for the run game. I think if they get back to some of the stuff, if he's able to recapture some of that rookie year magic with Mooney, and they get a better protection on the O line, I think you see, because he threw some passes last year from the pocket where you're like, your jaw hit the ground. Like, even the announcer, like, how the hell did he do that? and he did that often. So, I mean, the potential is there. They just got to protect him, and they gotta get something going. They gotta get a rhythm going so that defenses have to double team and have to scheme and have to do things that they didn't have to do last year. We made it too easy on defenses last year. Just put 8 in the box. You're gonna get the Fields before he can get the ball thrown. And then, like I said, Fields a couple times should have let the ball go, and he didn't. He needs to actually let it go and have the faith in his receivers. And that told you a lot. He didn't have faith in his receiving core because he didn't have that rapport yet. So if that gets fixed, it can be a completely different story in 23.
Oh, for sure. And that's what I'm curious. My question is, do you really think the Bears are going to sign a lot of free agents this year? Or do you think they're
They
going
have
to try
no choice.
They do have a choice.
No, they don't.
You don't think they'll just go get you don't think they just pick people up in the draft and keep them?
No, by NFLPA and by the agreement with NFLPA, teams have to spend a certain amount of their cap. The Bears are way below that. They have no choice but to go after and sign some free agents.
Okay, but do you think they're going to draft some big? What I'm basically saying is, are they just going to go in and get some role players?
So
do you think they're going to make some big moves?
They're going to make some big moves, especially on the O-line, because if you look at the O-line, there's 5, 6, 7 legit all-pro guys who are free agents. And we're talking guys who are just coming off a first contract. So and look at linemen can play, as you know, 10, 15 years in this league. So you're looking at these guys who are like 4 or 5 years in the league who are casualty caps or whatnot that are at that all-pro level. Like the 2 guys from that KC just let go today. The Bears, if they sign both of them, first off, they're both young. They could sign the 5-year deals. They're going to be there for 5 to 7 years. And they're going to spend money. And right there is a huge dent. Plus, you already drafted the best defensive lineman in the league last year offensively in Jones, right? So, and I think if they move Whitehair back to center, his natural position, he's better as a center. He was an all-pro as a center. And then they moved him off because of injury. So you move him back to center. You sign. They're going to spend. Look, I can sign 3 all-pro linemen and maybe have not even a $30 million cap hit. And remember, I've got like $95 million I can spend. So if I go and spend, I can go buy the 3 best linemen out there right now and probably spend about $30 million.
I mean, in Justin Fields' case, you better hope you do, because of 55 sacks is way too much.
So, I mean, but the Bears have no choice but to. So, but when you see how much cheaper linemen are compared to wide receivers, which there aren't any number ones in the free agency, there aren't any big running backs in free agency. So, where are they going to spend? Well, they're going to spend an O-line, and I think you'll spend, the players that cost the most money are edge and quarterbacks. Linebackers can cost too. I think they'll get 2 or 3 offensive linemen. That'll knock 30 mil off. And then if they can go after like a good edge rusher and a good linebacker, they could probably spend another 40 million there. And you still got 25, 26 million in cap space left. And I think if you do that, and then you go and draft one of these one of these game wreckers in the top edge rushers in the draft or something, you've completely changed your team.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Say you do what you say. You go get 3 of the best O-line, free agent O-linemen. You got that covered. Now comes the draft. Now there's rumors has it that the Buccaneers are willing to deal with Mike Evans. Would you be mad at the Bears if they gave the first pick for Mike Evans?
Oh yeah, no, I don't want to do that. No, Evans gets hurt. Too many injury issues with Evans. First off, if I'm going to give up, there's only one wide receiver I'd give up a first rounder for, and it's definitely not the number 1 pick. I'm not giving the number 1 pick up even for Devontae Adams.
No, all I'm saying is you would give the number 1 pick to Tampa. You would get their first round pick in return, and Mike Evans. So you wouldn't really lose the draft pick. You just move back.
Yeah, but where's Tampa pick?
They made the wild, or no, they missed the playoffs. Then they made the
playoffs. So you're talking number 17, 18, somewhere around there. Too far back. You'd have to give me more than your first pick in Evans for sure.
Okay, what if they threw like a 6-rounder in there?
Still not enough.
Still not enough for you?
Nope. Because Evans, if they were to trade Evans, they would be lucky to get a second round pick for Evans, I think.
I mean, they could probably pull that off because I mean, early reports I've read that Tampa's in the move and they had the Bears as number one contenders for him. And now I get that Evans might get hurt a lot, but if you still look, he's on like still to this day, even though he was hurt. He's on like what 8 years, 1,000 yards almost every year. He hasn't missed 1,000 yards receiving.
To give you an idea of what it's going to cost, Adam Schefter was saying, even if the Colts were to trade for the number one, they'd have to give the Bears their number one this year, their number one next year, and their number one the year after that. And the Colts are at number 4.
See, that's crazy.
So I mean, you're talking 3 number ones. So that number one pick is worth a shit ton of money. So I mean, if Tampa wants to move up, you're giving your number one this year, next year, Mike Evans, plus your second round this year, and your 4th round next year, and the Bears are giving you their first number one pick and maybe a 6th rounder, maybe something like that. And even then, because now you're so far back, you're not going to draft that edge rusher you're looking for. You're not going to get that impact. The Bears want to draft within the top 10, I'd say. I don't think they move any further back than 9.
Yeah. I mean, I was just looking at it because, like, I think you could solve a lot of issues if you did that trade. Well, maybe not.
Yeah, but I mean, if I don't, what's that?
One pick. Go ahead.
I mean, I get more in trading with the Colts than I do with Tampa in this scenario because I'm going to get that game-wrecking defensive end. And then I'm going to have 2 first-round picks for the next 2 years. So even if I don't get that number one wide receiver this year, I have 2 number ones next year. I'm going to draft a wide receiver with my first pick next year. And I'm probably in my window. And look at the wide receiver, and I can get in this draft in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round. There are some really good wide receivers in this draft. And there's some guys who might normally go in the 1st round. I might be able to get in the 2nd round this year.
Yeah. Like, I think the Bears might draft Ronnie Bell out of Michigan.
2nd round, maybe, or 3rd round. Yeah.
I think he'd be like a 4th rounder.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
and only why I say that is because he got good hands, he's fast, he's tall, and he's from Chicago. He's from that area.
And you know what's ironic? You know where Cole Kmet's from, right?
No.
Arlington Heights.
Yeah, that's a Chicago suburb.
It's where they're building the new stadium.
Are they for sure building a new stadium?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They closed on the property a couple of weeks ago. They own it, so they're building. And what's funny, Clement hopefully will still be on the team. He will legit be able to walk to the stadium from his house.
That's funny.
It's kind of like when Ben Zorbis played for the Cubs and he'd ride his bicycle from his house in Wrigleyville to the ballpark. It can be something like that. Yeah, it's kind of funny to think.
I don't blame him because Chicago has the shittiest traffic and the shittiest drivers in America.
LA drivers are kind of bad too. So are New York.
Oh, well, I mean, see, for me, the count is you driving, you actually have to move. In LA, you really don't move.
Yeah. Same in New York.
You get what I'm saying? Chicago, even in rush hour, you're actually moving. But I've seen to a certain extent, like
if you're on the Kennedy, it's a parking lot.
Yeah, if you take the bypass, you're in the parking lot.
Oh, if you're on 9094 cutting through the city, you're in a parking lot.
Believe it or not.
Depending which way you're going.
That's not that true.
Depending on which way you're going. if you're going into the city during rush hour at night, you're going to be okay because everyone's leaving the city. But if you're going northbound through the city in the morning rush hour, yeah, you're going to be moving you're going to move decently.
Well, see, here's my thing. Like back in the day, you're 100% right, because back in the day, everybody who had to go to the city just went to the cityway. Then they built that bypass, and it's like that in Atlanta too.
Yeah.
Everybody goes to the fucking bypass.
Yeah. I mean,
every time.
But yeah, it's just fun that Cole Kmet is from Arlington Heights, so the stadium is his backyard. So I mean, and really, I think the Bears target they want to be in their Super Bowl window for that inaugural year of the new stadium, which will probably be the 24 or 25 season.
You think that? Well, they earliest they probably be in their new stadiums by 25. I don't see him building a whole stadium within a year.
SoFi took a year to build, so if they break ground this summer, they could be in there by 24.
You think? See, I didn't know they officially, because I know they were still talking about putting a dome on Soldier Field.
No, they closed because as soon as they closed, Ted Phillips retired, and then they hired their new president.
See, I think it's a bad move. I don't think the Bears should have moved.
Why? They got one of the smallest stadiums in the league. Look, Soldier Field is one of the smallest stadiums in the league.
I'm not
it's got the worst field in the league.
No, I'm not saying they don't deserve a new stadium, but to me, is that stadium so historic, so much history for your franchise?
Well, yeah,
so
I get
me,
that.
What I would have personally done is I would have called Wrigley Field. I would have called the Cubs owner and been like, "Hey, man, let us play our home games in Wrigley Field. We'll pay you this much money, cut you in, whatever." And then I would have made Chicago either sell me the stadium or made them go half. And then,
so when the Bears reached out,
either like possibly tear down Soldier Field, but keep original shit like towards it, where you can build a bigger stadium off of it, or at least build the same stadium as Soldier Field.
You can't.
Okay, I get you can't. You would have to tear some down, but like
you legally can't. It's a national landmark. You can't do anything to that stadium to change the facade. And here's the thing: when the Bears went to the city told the Bears to pound sand. They said, "Be happy with what you got." They didn't want to work with the Bears, so the Bears said, "Okay, well, we'll just buy Arlington." Then when they first made the bid, the city's like, "Yeah, whatever. You're never going to leave." Blah blah blah. And then all of a sudden it became real. Well, we're not going to let you be called the Bears and Chicago Bears anymore. Of course, everyone else in the world laughed at Lori Lightfoot. And then they also now look at. I think this is great for the Bears. First off, it's half the distance to Hallis Hall. They're closer to Hallis Hall in Arlington Heights than they are in the city, because Hallis Hall is north of Arlington Heights, which is north of the city. Secondly, now the Bears, they will own that stadium. They can do things they don't get to do in Chicago, like host a because like WrestleMania, they like to go in NFL stadiums, right? So they can put 100,000 people in there. There's no venue in Chicago to do that. Well, if the Bears build a new dome stadium, guess what? They can host WrestleMania, and guess who makes all that money? The Chicago Bears do. They can do concerts, tractor pulls, whatever you want to do. They're going to make all that money is going to go to the Bears instead of going to the city of Chicago. Now when they can actually put a state-of-the-art turf system in there, natural grass, whatever, and not have the shittiest plane service in the league, they can actually have a good plane service. So, I mean, the city of Chicago kind of treated them kind of bad. And like, you're just going to get what you got. You're under contract. Sorry, guys. And the Bears said, okay, well, we're going to change that. And so really, if you want to blame anyone for the Bears leaving Soldier Field, blame the city of Chicago. Blame Lori Lightfoot, who just lost her re-election. First mayor in 40 years to lose re-election in the city of Chicago. Part of the reason she lost is she lost the Bears. They did absolutely nothing to keep the Bears. Like after the Bears put the bid in Arlington, they said, "Oh, well, now we can find new land." When before they said, "No, we're not going to build a new stadium. No, we won't do any renovations of Soldier Field. No, we're not going to improve the plane service." These are the things the city of Chicago told the Bears. So can you blame the Bears for moving to Arlington?
No, you see it a lot because like the Lions used to be in Pontiac, and Pontiac used to own the Silverdome, and I mean it was also our owner, our the senior, because he wanted all the money. He was sick of the blackouts, and the Pontiac Silverdome used to be like the third biggest stadium in the NFL at one point. So he took the average attendance and made it Ford Field, which was right around about 75,000 people. And then I think you could fit about close to 80 with us if you add stand-up room and shit like that. And so now we got Ford Field where he completely owns it, which to me, it's a nice stadium. I still think we're stupid. I don't like the dome.
Well, here's the other
I
thing.
think they need to cut a fucking hole in that motherfucker. And that's why I think the Bears are stupid too. Like, why go to build? Okay, build a stadium, but keep the shit outside, man. You can still have WrestleMania. You can still have concerts. It just has to be in the summertime.
No, well, WrestleMania is not in the summertime, but I think the idea is to make it retractable.
No, but you could get other. You could get SummerSlam. You know what I mean? They have all those many events all year round.
They can already get that stuff. The only like WWE pay-per event that's in a football stadium every time is WrestleMania. That's the big dog. But I'm just like, but now you can host a Super Bowl if you've got a dome. So if it's retractable roof, I could see them doing that. But then here's the other thing. So right now, the value of the Bears have the fifth highest value for the franchise in the NFL. Right? I think number one right now is the Rams. Number two is the Cowboys. The Bears they say, I think, are worth $5 or $8 billion, whatever, but they're ranked number 5 in value. The second they get that stadium, they become the most valuable team in the NFL.
You think so?
Well, I mean, that's what happened to the Rams too.
Where's the Packers at? I thought the Packers were like the number 1 team.
No value, as in like if they were to sell a team, what could they get for the team? So because the Rams own SoFi, they're worth like 16 billion or some stupid 12, 13, 14 billion.
You sure the Rams own that? Because LA owns it.
Nope, the Rams own it, and they allow the Chargers to play there.
You think so?
Yeah.
Because no, I'm going to look it up because I think you're wrong on that. Because that's the reason why the Rams left St. Louis was because St. Louis wouldn't build them the stadium, and LA told the Rams, if you
they would build it, but
we'll build you.
They got the it came down the tax breaks, but I think the Rams own it. But if you look at the most valuable teams in the NFL, the Rams are number 1. The Packers never rate because they don't have an owner. They don't have a single owner, so you can't sell the Packers.
Actually, I don't think the Rams do not own the stadium. I don't think.
They either own it outright or they own a huge chunk of it.
Let's see. Let me. I'll share my screen with you. What I just pulled up. According to this, it looks like a bunch of corporations on it. Whoever. These are the owners of
the investors.
And the investors, okay. Stan Kroenke owns SoFi Stadium. Sports Entertainment.
And guess what? Guess who he is?
Is he the owner of the Rams?
Yeah, he is. He also owns a Premier League soccer team. He owns a couple different teams. Yeah, Kroenke Sports Entertainment. The Kroenkes own the Rams. Click on Kroenke Sports Entertainment. And wait till you see all the stuff they own.
Let's see. American Sports Entertainment Holding Company based in Denver, Colorado. That's weird. He's based in Colorado.
Yeah. But look at all the teams he owns. It should tell us.
Holy shit.
Yeah, look what he owns: the Rams, the Nuggets, the Avalanche, the
He
Raptors.
owns Saint.
He
He
owns.
owns the Rams.
Yep.
He
He owns
owns
Arsenal.
Denver Nuggets.
Yeah. Yeah, the Nuggets and the
Colorado
Avs.
Avalanche.
Yeah, keep going down. Look at here on the right on the subsidiary sports teams. Colorado Rapids are his MLS team. Arsenal FC. That's British Premier League.
Yeah, right here. All sports teams: Los Angeles Rams, Denver Nuggets, Colorado Avalanche, Colorado Rapids, Colorado Mammoth.
Yeah, put the
Israel
cursor over Arsenal.
FC,
That's Premier League right there.
and then Israel WFC, Los Angeles Gladiators.
Look at his real estate. Look at the real estate. SoFi Stadium.
SoFi Stadium, U2 Theater, Emirates Stadium. Holy shit. Dick's Sporting Goods Park. Oh, that dude's worth some money, boy.
Yeah.
He's worth some money.
So I mean, so if you look at the now go to your search of the value NFL teams, NFL team values or something might be the key to search there. But like I said, they own the stadium. Well, if that's what the Bears are going to do. They're going to own that stadium. Your most valuable NFL teams. There you go. Or value of NFL teams 2021 might work too.
Well, this is Forbes, so you know it's legit. We just gotta find where's the start.
Does it have the list? Where's the list?
Cowboys are number one. Cowboys are worth $6.5 billion. New England.
No, that list
Patriots
is wrong.
At 5.
That list
this
is wrong. That's an old list.
This is from 2021.
Yeah, that's an old list. That's before SoFi. Before that was valued in.
So we'll go 2023.
Yeah.
Let's see if the list gives us. No, that's right. Most team top five most valuable teams in 2023. Cowboys 6.5 billion. New England Patriots 5. New York Giants 4.85. Los Angeles Rams 4.8. And Washington Redskins. Oh, Washington football team. Sorry, so don't ban me now.
The Bears are currently just below that, probably. They'll be worth a truckload more money when they build that stadium.
That's okay. This should give us the whole list of the whole NFL.
Now that might be for. That's the thing, though. That might be just for the team, not the team with stadium.
Yeah, it could be separate with if you had the stadium and this.
Yeah,
is the one I'm pulling up.
if you had the stadium in, the Rams are worth the most money.
So number 5,
they're
the 49ers.
So the Bears are worth 3.5 right now. But if you had that stadium in, they'll be worth more, about 8 billion. 7 to 8 billion.
So you're at 7. See, I think this is with the stadium.
No, because the Bears don't own a stadium. I think this because look at the Rams. The Rams, it says nothing about the stadium.
Yeah, because and this one's weird because they got the 49ers at 5th, Jets at 6, Bears at 7.
I think that's just the team itself without the stadium.
No, see, now this is what finds it pretty hard. How in the hell are the Texans worth $3.3 billion at number 10? What the hell have they done to be number 10?
It's the amount of money the revenue. They generate revenue.
I know. I don't even want to know where Detroit's at. So I already know we rank to the low. Which I mean, it's understandable with our history. You know what I mean? But I mean, a lot of teams did that. Like the Red Wings did it in Detroit. with Joe Arena.
Yeah.
But see, our owner would, but Illich was pretty cool, even though he got harped on because Detroit went broke at that time. They couldn't afford to build a new stadium. They couldn't afford to redo Joe Arena to make it bigger or anything like that either. So Illich went and built his own stadium, and it was going to call it. He was going to have a Red Wing. The original roof blueprints, because my grandpa owned season tickets for the Red Wings. So the original roof was supposed to have the wing wheel on the top, and then it was supposed to glow up right in the sky when they played. Well, now it's completely covered, and it's got some pizza guy for Little Caesars on the top. Because what Illich turned out to did is he went to the city of Detroit and said, all right, you guys are broke and I'm taking a lot of money out of your pockets because I'm building my own stadium. So he took a percentage, so they paid a percentage of taxes that they could afford to give him, and he cut him in the same deal as Joe Louis. So the city still makes money on the stadium, but at the end of the day, the Red Wings own the rights. They don't have to listen to the city.
Yeah,
the city can't control nothing, but they get the same deal, and they still make money.
Yeah, and the Bears have no naming rights.
Which really helped the city of Detroit.
And here's the thing, like with Soldier Field, the Bears have no naming rights. They really don't. They have nothing. They're tenants. They really don't. The city gets it. So I think just that whole relationship between the city of Chicago and the Bears as tenants got to be so toxic and terrible. The Bears said, you know what, we're just going to move to the burbs.
Now, do you think that's going to benefit your team, though?
I think so. I mean, it's going to be a nicer playing surface. It'll attract players to come. Players like to play in nice fields, and if they know that your home turf sucks and there's high injury risk because your field is shitty, guys don't want to come there and risk their health.
I mean, for sure, but and the only why I bring this up is because the Pistons, because when the Pistons were for sale, Illich tried to buy the Pistons, but they blocked it because they're like, you own the Tigers and you own the Red Wings. There's no way we're letting you own the Pistons. So they wouldn't let him buy the team, but but what I said is like Illich cut the city in to build the city back. So then they went out and they recruited the Pistons, and the Pistons moved from Auburn Hills back to the city. And honestly, they're stupid because they made way more money when they had their own stadium, and not just because they had their own stadium, they got way more attendance because what it was is being in Auburn Hills, you're about 45 minutes outside of the city of Detroit.
That's the thing. 80 to 90% of the people who go to Bears games live in the Northwest burbs. So it's actually it's easier for the fans to get to the fans, and actually because it's in Arlington, it's actually most of the players live in the Northwest burbs. So it's going to be easier for everyone. And the only people who, if you're south of the city or in the city, now you got to take the Metro. That's all you got to do is hop on the Metro and you can get to the new ballpark.
Yeah. So.
Or the L. You can take the L or the Metro at Arlington Heights.
Yeah. No, I know where Arlington Heights. I've been there by fucking.
You know what I'm talking about because the L runs all the way up. Well, it doesn't run that far up 90, does it? No, it doesn't.
Not 90, but it goes up all the way up 94.
Well, it goes up
to the north border.
It goes up by the airport, like by O'Hare is where it stops. Mm-hmm. But you can get out O'Hare, catch a cab, catch a bus, or hop on the Metro and get there.
Yeah.
So
I got pretty familiar with Chicago when you drive a truck. You're in Chicago probably every other week, if not twice a week.
I mean, look at the end of the day, does it affect your salary cap? No, because salary cap's a salary cap. But does it affect what you spend? You can spend now on facilities. If let's say the Bears are making an extra $100 million a year in revenue because they're doing concerts and WWE and other events at the field, and they can now put that money into state-of-the-art workout facilities and and medical staff. And so there will be a translation to the field of play if they invest back into the team with the extra revenue they make. You can't invest in a team player-wise because the cap's the cap, but you can build better facilities. You can bring in better doctors. You can, you know what I'm saying? There's other things they can do to make the team better with that extra money.
Oh, for sure. I mean, making your players comfortable is like the main number one goal. And as long as they're happy, you know, and
Yeah.
your fans are happy, that's all really matters. It's just kind of crazy because like I talked to my buddy the other day about it, like between like actually, you know, Troy, I was talking to Troy because we play online franchise, and he's an Atlanta fan, but he chose to play in the North so that way we could play each other twice a year instead of maybe once every a couple seasons and then meeting up in the playoffs. So we do two leagues, one with my brother in it, and he's Green Bay in that one, and then me and him, he's the Bears in that one. So he was like, we were talking, and they let Madden let me rebuild Ford Field. So I got to rebuild my stadium between the 1 year, and I made Ford Field, same spot, same place. I just made an open dome. I just changed it from a dome to outdoor stadium and all that. And he was like, well, I wonder if they'll let me, rebuild the Packer Stadium. And I was like, I don't know, because in real life, I don't think the Packers could ever build a new stadium with all the history at that stadium. And that's how I felt with the Bears. I feel like the Bears are losing a lot of history, but it makes sense because the Bears don't own the stadium. You know what I'm saying?
Chris,
at the end of the day.
You want to know what's funny though? Gale Sayers never played it down at Soldier Field. Mike Ditka never played it down at Soldier Field. Brian Piccolo never played at Soldier Field. The only greats that played at Soldier Field were Walter Payton in the 85 Bears, the 06 Bears Urlacher. But if you look at most of the retired jerseys in Chicago, none of them ever played it down at Soldier Field except for a very small handful.
Where did the Bears play? Where did they play before Soldier Field?
Until the 70s.
Where was that at?
They played at Wrigley up until like the early 70s, and then they moved to Soldier Field.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because the Lions used to play with the Tigers in Old Tiger Stadium.
Yeah. So I mean, if you think of the history, it's not as old as people think. It's like most of the historic players outside of Sweetness played at Wrigley of all places, which you couldn't play an NFL game there these days.
You don't think so?
They know it's too dangerous with that brick wall. They'd never let it happen. Not in today's league. I mean,
well, you just put padding on
it. They still would never. The NFLPA would never let that happen. And besides, you can't. The seating capacity is too small.
Oh yeah, I thought Wrigley. I always thought Wrigley was a pretty big baseball stadium just because how historic the Cubs were.
35,000 maybe.
That's it.
That's most baseball stadiums.
See, I thought Comerica Park's a pretty big park.
35, 40,000, but most of them seat. Well, then you got the rooftops. But I mean, for the there's not as much history at Soldier as you think.
That is true. Now I think about it. See, I just like the setup because I know they got the big don't they got the big wall memorial for all the soldiers and stuff at the stadium? Ain't there like a special wall or something?
There is, but it's not like they can't recreate something like that at a new stadium.
Well, I mean, if they move, can they still recreate something like that, or could the city of Chicago be like, "Oh no, you're complicated"?
They still have a
veterans it's a landmark.
They can have they can have a veterans memorial section, paying homage to their history. Because what they'll do, they'll have murals inside. Like there's a mural inside now that's got the name of every person who's ever worn a Bears uniform. So I'm sure they'll do that at the new stadium. And you know, they talk about. In fact, there's pictures of Wrigley Field up at Soldier Field on the walls. You know, as they for team history. So there'll be something there referencing Soldier Field and all that in the team history. But I mean, dude, they got 180 acres. I mean, they could have a whole veteran memorial area like park. You know what I'm saying? They could do all kinds of crazy stuff. They got that much room. They got 180 acres, dude. It's insane how much space that place has.
And I didn't even know I didn't even know a suburb had that much room available for it. Because every suburb around there is fucking packed with shit.
Well, because you have the racetrack, but then you had all the practice tracks and other buildings, and it's a pretty expansive property. So a little known fact: my dad was the postmaster of Arlington Heights, and that property is massive, massive.
Oh, so they bought the old racetrack property then?
They bought all of Arlington International Racecourse, all of it.
So they're just going to tear that mud right down.
Oh yeah, it's all gone. Everything's gonna get torn down. It's all gonna be replaced. They're gonna put the stadium. You can put hotels. You can put shopping areas. You got 180 acres, dude. That's a lot of That's a lot of space.
Because now that makes sense. Because I was wondering why NASCAR all of a sudden decided that they were going to race in the inner city of Chicago streets. And I'm like, what was wrong with Chicago's racetrack? You know, they worked out for years perfectly fine for them. And now all of a sudden, screw this track, we're just going to race in the city.
Well, no. Arlington was horse.
And I thought they were kind of copying.
Oh, no, Arlington. It was a horse track, yeah. So see, not only you have the main stadium, the main horse track, the stadium, but then also on that property you had practice tracks, you had housing buildings, training buildings, and all kinds of other areas that they use for the horses. That's why like, okay, so where the Rams bought is Balmoral Racetrack. That was a horse racetrack too. Arlington's a little bit bigger than Balmoral was as far as total property. That's why the Rams facility there is so massive, because it was a horse track.
Makes sense now. See, I thought it was the NASCAR track because
NASCAR's track is Joliet.
Chicago Speedway anymore. That makes
right,
sense. Because that makes sense. For some reason, I was thinking it was.
Yeah. So it's going to be.
Because I know NASCAR this year is supposed to be racing in the city of Chicago. So that's why when you said racetrack, I was like, okay, that makes sense why they're racing in the city now, because the Bears bought the racetrack. I didn't know it was the horse track. You know, the crazy thing is the horse tracks are going out of business like crazy all of a sudden. Because we had two. I mean, our parks, our tracks around here were like built right in the city, and they weren't like huge. They weren't nothing like 180 acres or anything. But they're both gone and closed and torn down now.
Yeah, because you can, you know, with the advent of the different way of betting on horses, like off-site betting, and now sports bet books in general, more, you know, NCAA and professional sports, horses kind of became less. Remember, it used to be horses were the only thing you could bet. You couldn't bet on baseball games and football games and hockey games. Now you can bet on damn near everything. So horses kind of like got pushed out of the market.
That is crazy. Well, now I'm kind of excited to see how this new stadium's going to look, because I've been sitting here wondering if this is a legit. Because I kept seeing pictures of how Soldier Field's going to look with the dome on it and everything's like. Because then Chicago offer right there at the last minute to put a dome on.
Like last minute, like literally like 2 days before they closed the deal. Yeah, 2 days before they closed the deal on the park, they said, "Oh, but look, we can redesign Soldier Field." They're like, "Yeah, forget it."
Yeah, it's too late now. Like you had your chance.
Yeah.
So that'd be pretty big. I'm pretty sure the NFL will make a big deal about it. I bet you when you guys open it, I bet you guys open your season on Monday Night Football
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure.
at the new stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you guys would be the newest stadium, I think. Because no one else
Yeah,
is
we would.
building a stadium right now.
No, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. So the Bears are moving out of Chicago. We call it
But they're still going to be in the county. They're not. They're staying in Cook County. That's the thing. They're out of the city limits, but they're in the same county.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Any suburb in Chicago is Cook County.
No, it's not. Lake County is not. I mean, it's close to being in Lake County, but you've got even the South Cook County is big, but believe it or not, there are like 3 counties surrounding the city where a ton of people live in the burbs. Lake
Yeah.
County is huge in Chicago. So, but they're still. That's why the county's not saying anything because the county isn't losing any money. Cook County is still going to make its money. The only people losing money are going to be the city of Chicago. But you know what, though? The city is still going to make money on tourism for the Bears. They're going to still fill some hotel rooms. They're still going to get tourists who go to the city, who come in from out of town to go to the Bears.
Because the difference would still make the money because people are not going to hang out in the suburbs. They're coming out of state anyway.
Yeah, I mean, there's some places. Now, don't get me wrong. You got Woodfield. You know Woodfield. I mean, there's shopping and that, other things to do. But yeah, people are still going to go down to the city. I mean, the city is going to lose money.
Oh, for sure. They're going to because where they're going to lose money is because they get percentage of the ticket sales, beer sales, food sales,
parking,
jerseys, even jersey sales. They got to split money.
Yeah.
For that.
So, I mean, they're going to lose a lot of money, but they're still going to make a little bit off the Bears. But I don't blame the Bears for doing it. If the city of Chicago would have taken them seriously and actually, worked with the Bears, I don't think the Bears would have even tried to buy Arlington.
Yeah. I mean, why would they spend a bunch of money when they could just had a free stadium built for them?
But Lori Lightfoot told them to pound sand and kick rocks, so they did. They kicked rocks right out of town.
See, that's the thing, too, with a lot of these cities, and when the team owns when the stadium's owned by the city, is you've seen it like with the Rams in St. Louis. I mean, granted, I understood their point because their stadium wasn't that old either, but at the same time, the team won you 2 Super Bowls, gave you good
one Super Bowl
franchise. The Rams won 2. They beat Tennessee.
No, they won.
Kurt Warner won
2
Super Bowls with the Rams in St. Louis. I'm telling you.
They went to 2 Super Bowls. They beat Tennessee, and they lost to the Patriots.
No, they beat the Patriots.
They lost to the Pats. That was Brady's 3rd Super Bowl.
I think
I was living in St. Louis at the time. When you pull it up and it shows you that the Pats beat them, just send me that Kenny Galladay jersey you got framed.
Hey, you want it? I'll let you have
it. He's a free agent.
He's gonna be on a practice squad.
He's gonna retire. Hey, but the dude got paid for 2 years of doing nothing in New York, so you can't blame the cat. He made his money.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought they got 2.
And I almost called it the TWA Dome because that's what it was. And then TWA went out of business, and then it became the Edward Jones Dome. I went to a lot of games there. It was a good stadium. The city put a ton of money. The city put a ton of money into it. And the thing was, it's not like the Rams were selling out. Like, that was the thing. If the Rams were selling out games, I think the city would have been more apt to build a new stadium for them. But the thing about St. Louis, that's a Cardinals town. And when they built the new Busch Stadium, that created so much drama in the state of Missouri that I think that hurt the Rams from getting another. It wasn't that the city didn't want to build it; it's the state was like, no, because remember Kansas City's in Missouri too, and they're like, then we're gonna
Yeah,
have to build the Chiefs a new stadium, and well, the Chiefs were better at that time, so it's kind of like the Dome is still a really great stadium. It's still serviceable for sure. It wasn't that old. It was well kept. They weren't even selling it out. So I think there was a hard sell to the state. And also then, in as far as within St. Louis, it was where are you going to actually put the new stadium?
yeah, 'cause that's not a crowded area.
Yeah, they don't have room there, and even in their burbs, they have almost to go to St. Charles County to do it. So they'd have to go 2 counties over. It would have left St. Louis City County, and because you have St. Louis County and St. Louis County.
Yeah,
It's stupid,
yeah,
but it's the way they are. But I think
yeah.
it might have been able to put it in St. Louis County, but yeah, so they had other issues with the Rams. But I mean, getting SoFi. I mean, but the Rams ended up doing SoFi on their own. So I think in St. Louis it was just more of a matter of they didn't have the real estate to do it.
Yeah, and I don't think the owner of the Rams obviously trusted the fan base in St. Louis, obviously, to spend his
Because
own money.
baseball time. If they, look when the Cardinals are playing, if you're the Cardinals or Blues in a Rams game, all on the same day on a Sunday in the city, like in October, right? The Cardinals game would be packed. The Blues would be 3/4 capacity, and the Rams would have like half capacity. If the Rams and the Blues play at the same time, the Blues would be sold out, and the Rams would be 3/4 to half capacity. If it was the Cardinals and anyone, the Cardinals always sell. And here's the other thing: the way those three stadiums are in St. Louis, they all share parking. So if all three had a home game at the same time, good luck parking down there.
Yeah, that sounds like a damn nightmare.
It was. But I mean, like even the Super Bowl year, like the first half of the season, they couldn't give Rams tickets away. And then of course they got good and everyone wanted to go. But the only reason, remember, the Rams moved there is because Georgia Fontaine moved them. Well, when she passed away and the team changed ownership, he's like, oh hell no, I'm going back to LA.
That is true. I forget that the Rams got bought because of that. See, I'm thinking it's the original owner of the Rams, and that's why I'm like, why would you move to LA? Why would you move from LA to St. Louis and right back to LA?
Passed away, and his wife, Georgia Fontaine, a native of St. Louis, moved the team back to St. Louis. And then when she passed and the team was sold, they moved right back to LA.
It's like because when I started driving and the Rams moved, the few times I went to St. Louis, and I'm not gonna lie, it was like a depressing time when you brought up football. As soon as you brought up football, like they just looked at you kind of like, we don't want to talk about it.
I mean, look at the 06 Bears. If you remember the 06 Bears, they went to St. Louis on Monday Night Football, right?
Yeah.
And Marshall Faulk is like, what the hell is going on? There are more Bears fans in our home stadium than Rams fans. It was like a Bears home game in St. Louis. I mean, so the Rams were always, that's how St. Louis is. They're fickle like that. But like the Cardinals, they don't care. The Cardinals can be the worst team in baseball. They'll sell out the stadium because it's the Cards. The Blues can be a crappy team, but they're still going to sell tickets. The Rams weren't like that. Unless the Rams were winning the division, no one in that city cared about them.
And then it made sense. But see, I don't know. I just feel like California teams are weird. Because I feel like they still get the same shit over there as well.
But like, look at the Raiders. The Raiders left Oakland because they couldn't get a stadium anywhere in the area. And so the Vegas, like, here, we'll build you the Death Star. Come on in.
Yeah.
I mean,
and now he's bitching about it because he can't get enough Raider fans there, and he's having too much away teams in there. And
but that's Vegas. Vegas is always transient, but they're going to gain a local base. it's not like the Vegas Knights, which were a startup from scratch, and they went to the Stanley Cup their first year. That's why they had such a good base. The Raiders are an established team that played in Oakland and LA. And so, it's a very transient, there's a lot of Chicagoans in Vegas, by the way. It's one of the few places, there's only 2 cities outside of Chicago you can get a Rosati's pizza, and Vegas is one of them. So it's a transient city. It's going to take a while for them to build a base. And then, of course, the first season is COVID. And then the second season's a debacle, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they'll get a good base. They'll get a good base. That's a beautiful state.
Well, see, my thing is with the Raiders being out there, this is how I look at it, is if you're going to continue to be a shitty team and not making the playoffs and not, you know what I mean, you're not going to draw people to drive 3.5 hours from LA to Vegas to watch you play.
McDaniels, dude. It's McDaniels. This is the second team he's ruined. He ruined the Denver Broncos when he went to be head coach there. Within 2 weeks of being there, Jay Cutler, who had 2 great seasons in Denver, was within a month of him getting there, Cutler was traded to the Bears. Now then McDaniels last 1 season there, then he's back with Belichick in New England. Now he leaves Belichick for a second head coaching gig, and what's he do? Gets rid of a franchise quarterback, and he runs a team in the ground in his first full season with them.
Yep. And now he's going to watch Carr probably win the NFC South.
I get McDaniels will get fired by the end of next year. If the Raiders aren't vastly improved, McDaniels will get fired by at some point in the season. McDaniels is a good offensive coordinator. He's a shitty head coach. He has no business being a head coach in this league.
I totally agree with you.
Because if you think about it, if you think back to that Denver Broncos team with Jay Cutler, they were a playoff contending team when he got there.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they sucked.
And the funny thing is, after he left, did he go there after the Super Bowl? No, before the Super Bowl.
He left. John Fox takes over, and they're right back in the playoffs.
And then they win the Super Bowl 3 years later.
Yep.
Man,
McDaniels is a franchise killer. I don't know why Davis hired him. He's a franchise killer.
Because he's like a Matty P. They think because they won Super Bowls with Patricia that it makes him this great old coach, and then at the end of the day, really.
Yeah, you're with Belichick. You must be good, and you had Brady. But you know what though? And look, I get it. Like, when after losing Gruden, he's a big name. Everyone in the NFL knows McDaniels, and his pedigree. So maybe they thought it energizes the base because it's a known entity. It's not like think about it. Before the Bears hired Eberflus, who knew who Eberflus was? Before the Packers hired LaFleur, who the hell was Matt LaFleur? So for the Raiders needing to hire a new head coach, that was a big name people knew.
Yeah.
So I get that, but he's killed another franchise.
Yeah, I don't have faith in Oakland to be or Vegas. I still.
Yeah, I know.
I'm fucking Oakland. But they ain't gonna be nothing until McDaniel's done. Because I think it's gonna come to light, especially if Carr wins the NFC North of the Saints, and he got a good chance to do that now. Because the Saints didn't really fall off on defense or offense. They just sucked at quarterback.
The Saints became the best team in the North overnight. Like, there is no one in that division who can touch them now, as it stands today.
Yeah.
Carr's almost you can pencil in, NOLA winning the North their division because Atlanta doesn't have it right now. Tampa is got to figure out what they're going to do, and who's the other team? You got Tampa, Atlanta, and Carolina's a hot mess. So they're the team to beat. They got Kamara. They got a lot of big names still there. So NOLA is going to look good next year. And
exactly. And if they look good, way better than
if Carr's putting up numbers,
Vegas.
If Carr's putting up numbers, and let's say you get 10 games in the season, and let's say NOLA's like 6-4, and the Raiders are 4-6, McDaniels is fired.
Oh, for sure, hands down.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you keep a guy like that on your team? You know.
You know.
But anyways, it's been about that time. Thank you for joining tonight, Ken. It's been great
no problem,
talking
brother.
to you. We'll
been a-
definitely have to have you. I'll definitely have to have you back on again for sure. Because right now I'm just trying to off season, so I'm trying to do the interviewing side, talk to other people, get filled with their teams. And then when the season kicks in, then me and Dave still have our show, but then I want to keep other days when I don't have Dave, keep shit going. We should set something up with you and Ron and get you guys both on and do a show together.
it'd be fun. It's been a minute since I talked. I haven't talked to Ron much lately, so it's been a minute. But yeah, it'd be a lot. Ron and I always have fun.
Exactly. I mean, it'll definitely be a blast in the past. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So now I know your predictions with the Bears. What you think? Other than that, it's a good show. I learned that how the Bears are actually going to move their stadium, and I learned everything about it now. So now I'm going to be excited to see. Now I got to pay attention to that because I thought they were still in talks. I thought it was still rumors at this point.
Dude, the next 2 weeks are going to be insane in football. The next 2 weeks, when free agency opens on the 15th, it's going to be crazy. And then it'll slow down right before the draft, right? And then the draft, and it's funny because after the draft, it's funny. Isn't it funny? It's going to get on the 15th for about a week. It's going to be nuts, right? And then it's going to get quiet, and then we're going to have the draft, and it's going to be quiet till camp.
It is. The 15th is a Wednesday, and that's a day I can't stream because I got bowling. But
we're doing so. I do the.
I'm sure I'll be streaming a few shows that week.
We're doing I do the House Hall Report. We're going to do a draft special. We're not a draft special. We're going to do that too. But on the 15th, that night. I think we're going to do it at 7:30 in the evening. We're going to do a first day of free agency special because we figure there's going to be 4 or 5 major signings on the 15th. So we're going to do a little show that day.
I wouldn't doubt it at all. I feel like this free agency is going to be pretty good.
It's different last year's too, because last year it was a lot of big names big edge rushers, big receivers, stuff like that. This year it's a lot of linemen and stuff, but really good line. There's a couple edge rushers, a couple linebackers. There are 0 receivers this year to speak of as far as number ones. The running back situation, minus a couple trade possibilities, the biggest free agent running back, think about this. The biggest free agent running back right now is David Montgomery.
Yeah.
And not that Montgomery's not good.
And possibly Josh Jacobs. Because Josh Jacobs
he got tagged.
Did he get tagged? I missed that.
He got tagged.
Yeah.
He got tagged. Saquon got tagged. So really, David Montgomery is the headlining running back as a free agent right now.
Wow, that is pretty crazy.
I mean, and Montgomery's not a slouch. He's a good back. But he's, the knock on him, he's not a home run back. But I mean, he still put up over 800 yards. He's a phenomenal blocker. He catches the ball, the back well. I really want the Bears to re-sign him, but it's kind of looking like they're not going to. But I wish they would. But I mean, that's the headlining running back. There's no number 1 wide receiver. There's really, minus now Lamar, which we talked about. The biggest quarterback out there that's left is Jimmy G. Baker and Baker Mayfield. They're out there. So there's a couple quarterbacks, but you don't have any big tight ends out there in the free agent market, big name tight ends this year. So last year, you had a lot of big, Von Miller and those kinds of guys. It's not that kind of off season. This is trenches. A lot of guys from the trenches this offseason, which is perfect for the Bears because that's what we need. But I mean, last year you also saw a huge shift in power from the NFC to the AFC with free agents. I mean, like I said, last year think about it, you had Devontae Adams and guys like that moving. This year it's just linemen and some edge rushers and a linebacker or two. It's not going to be this massive shift in power like it was last year. But there's going to be some huge signings that first day. I guarantee it.
Oh, for sure. It's going to be real. I plan to, this stream, I probably will do a show probably all draft weekend. I'm going to try to hook up my studio with the TV because I don't got cable, unfortunately, in my studio. So I'm going to have to try to rig something so I can stream it in here and just pay attention while doing the show. But I'm going to figure something out.
Yeah, I know we're going to do one. I will probably have one on the house, for sure. But I don't be surprised on the 15th if the Bears don't announce 2 or 3 signings that day. I think they're going to be that quick.
Think so?
Yep.
I'll definitely be in contact. I'll definitely be shooting messages back and forth with you on that day.
Definitely the first couple days.
I think so too. I'm kind of curious to see what Detroit's going to do. They're saying that they're not going to do no big free agents. They've already been pretty animate in interviews. Dan Campbell and Holmes is basically telling people to chill the fuck out. We're not going to go blow a bunch of money on free agents. So I'm kind of curious to see what guys we do get. But I'm also waiting to see what happens with Jalen Ramsey because rumors at the combine he's being pegged to Detroit a trade.
So I mean, but once again, though, what's Ramsey? I mean, he's got a nice contract, so that's gonna take some money, of course. But then, really, like, what's he gonna cost you guys?
Not that much.
Get him, and his contract's pretty decent.
We would probably have to give him a second round. At least trade him a second round pick. And maybe one from next year.
I've seen some guys say like your second first round pick, the latter one.
Which I'm okay. Well, one of them's coming from next year. So I'm okay with that.
Ramsey's for as good as he is, he gets burned a lot too. So he's not Eli Apple, but
he's still the top in the top 5 corners in the whole league, though.
Yeah, but I mean, the guys you guys got are pretty good.
We're missing one. We need that one corner, and what I mean. And why I like Ramsey coming is because he's locked down for like 3 years, right? So
it would be fun.
So he's locked down for 3 years. So now you got Jerry Jacobs, which to me is our best young cornerback coming up. And I love it because he's unsafe. He's an unsigned free agent. He wasn't drafted. We signed him. He's our diamond in the dirt. So you put Ramsey, him, they're going to shut motherfuckers down. Then you got Okudah that just came back, played his first full year of football since his first 2 rookie years, pretty much from injuries. So you just give that leader experience, that veteran presence, and get this. We can still turn around and flip him in his last year of his contract.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, you know what'd be funny? It's like, hey, Rams, take your first round pick back as a rebate for Stafford. It'd be like a Stafford rebate.
Exactly. Except that, you know what I mean? And as long as we don't do nothing, as long as it don't cost too much, I'm cool with it because yes, we need defense, and that's one of the biggest defense. But Chris, you that trade, you just solved it. You solved our secondary.
The cornerback market in this draft, though, is so deep.
Oh, I know.
You probably don't need to get Ramsey. There's like 22 of the top 100 prospects in the draft are corners.
Oh, for sure. I get the concept. I know for a fact we don't need to do it.
Yeah.
But if it's presented to us and it's a good deal and it don't fuck us in the deal to get him, I'm okay with it as well. I'm okay if we go in draft day and draft the quarterback as well. Like, I'm not saying fuck go, you know what I mean? I'm not one of these dumbass fans that are gonna say, you know what I mean, go sell the kitchen sink, the stove, the car in the driveway for one player, you know what I mean?
Right.
There ain't no need for that. But you know what I mean, if they want our second round, our 18th pick in the first round, and then a pick from next year, I'm okay with it because we got 2 second round picks too. And I'm pretty sure we got 2 third round picks this year,
Yeah, I
this
mean,
year as well.
both
So
teams
we
should
have
draft.
the draft capital to maneuver that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it really ain't gonna cost us, it won't cost us much to do it. And then instead of having then we can still draft a quarterback, you know what I mean? And he just
Yep.
learns from Ramsey and plays fill in for depth. So I mean, I think we're okay either way, either route we get it. I just like it because you put Ramsey here, that almost seals a playoff berth.
No, it makes
for
you
our
better.
secondary, I
I'm
believe.
with you.
You
I'm
know
with
what I mean? It'll put our secondary right there because you got
Well-
Walker coming back, you got Joseph, then you have Ramsey, and Joseph's already proven to be a ball hawk as a rookie this year.
So basically,
You know,
we've
then
got
you put Jalen Ramsey.
we've got until the draft
You
to
know?
make this happen one way or the other. Because if it doesn't happen by draft day, it's not going to happen.
Exactly.
So it's gonna be fun, my friend, and there's gonna be a lot happening the next weeks.
It is gonna be fun. I'm expecting to find out if the rumors are true about it real soon because, like you said, draft days at the combine today. That the whole talk through the whole combine for the teams was Jalen Ramsey was already being played to Detroit through the whole combine, through the whole NFL teams supposedly. So if that's what truly is going on, it's probably a good chance it's going to happen. But time will tell because they're going to want to trade before the 15th, I would imagine. So, but it's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting off season, and it's just starting right now. I'm just getting a little hyper. It's the 7th. We don't got that much longer. Next Wednesday. So a week from today.
Yep. That's when it's going to go down, man. It's going to be great.
Exactly. But anyways, we're going to end this. Thank you for joining tonight, Ken. It's
Thank you,
been the
brother.
4th&Goal broadcast. You guys have a good night. We'll see you guys back Sunday night with Dave at 7, most likely, or 8. The banner will be up, and I will by tomorrow, so you guys will know what time we'll start.
Bear
All right,
down.
buddy. Have a good one, man. Take it easy, buddy. Later.
Have a good one. Bear down, brother.
All right, one pride all day. And I'm not saying that beer down shit.
You just did.
Well, yeah, but I countered back to it's always one pride. You already know.
Yeah, I know. It's one pride and bear down. I got it. You have pride and bear down. I'm with you. Have a good night, everyone.
All right, buddy. Good night, everyone.
All right.
Later.